UK office. He said, this struggle is our struggle. This is the people from Burma's struggle, and we have to be in the front, and we have to go out and talk about our struggle and continue this struggle. But Burma Campaign UK, like himself and other organizations like Ben Rogers and other human rights organizations, they can support us from the back and then push it upward so that we can raise more awareness and speak out like the from the first-hand experience, so that people around the world and governments around the world can take action about Burma. So yes, I would like to encourage you all today, not just our friends, but also anyone here who are new to this kind of Rohingya event, or who don't know much about Burma, or who already know much about Burma. Please do something about it. And we want to see this generation is the last generation who suffer under this military dictatorship, and everyone can live in peace without fear in the future. And at the moment, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you few minutes break, and then we'll come back after around 10-15 minutes or 20 minutes, and we will go on with the question and answer section and discussion, because some of our Muslim friends, they need a break for some drink and food after.
But that's at about 5 minutes past 8.
5 minutes
Past 8, yes.
Should we go straight through then?
Yeah, 5 minutes past 8.
Okay, so
Go straight through.
okay, we will continue the discussion, then question and answer. So if you have one, please do ask. Yes.
I would like actually straight to the den and just what about, could you please expand the situation about the people who in the refugee camps in Bangladesh, especially that how is that they're treated, you know, and in terms of not like the freedom movement, and then with to do with the Bangladesh authority, how they, you know, or you know, recognize refugee camps or unrecognized refugee camps, how they move freely. Yeah. And then second question is, you encourage us to travel, to visit, and then how realistic is it, and then how we can, you know, people might be, you know, like to know, and then you can visit easily to visit the camps, or how can mechanism work?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. These are two really important questions. I'll give a brief answer to the first question, and we actually have with us this evening at least one, and perhaps others, but we have an expert who actually works with Muslim Aid in the camps, and so I might ask him to come in on this, because I only spent a few days there, and so I just have a surface impression. But in answer to your question, things are very restricted. And particularly, I think you were referring to political activity, were you?
Yeah, and other movements.
Well, my impression is that in Bangladesh as a whole, and certainly in the camps, it's extremely difficult for people to become active and to organise politically. It's the young men that I mentioned who were teaching, who were school teachers, they had to sneak out of the camp to meet me, and they were quite nervous about the repercussions for them. I was not able to get entry to the official camp. The main reason for that was that you require UNHCR permission, and unfortunately we arrived in Cox's Bazar, the nearby town, I think we arrived on a Thursday night, and Friday and Saturday they're closed, and then we were leaving after that, so we weren't able to get in contact. We tried, we made phone calls, but we just weren't able to get UNHCR permission. And I was told that it can be quite bureaucratic and laborious to get that permission anyway. The camps that I was able to go to were firstly these temporary camps which are kind of on the edges of the more permanent camps, and that's where the conditions were worst. And they have absolutely no protection at all. They can be they can be attacked, they can be arrested, anything can happen to them. The Lido camp, which, if I understand it correctly, its status is a sort of halfway status. It was given land and has some funding from the European Union, I believe. So it has a sort of semi-official status, but it doesn't have the full UNHCR protection. But I'll answer your second question, and maybe you'd like to come back on in more detail. As far as how to go there, it's entirely possible. You can fly to Dhaka and you can meet people in Dhaka, and there are not only Rohingyas but Rakhine and other Burmese as well. You can go to Chittagong, which I did, and meet people in Chittagong, and then you can go right up to the border to Cox's Bazar and to Teknaf and to the camps. You need to have reliable contacts, as is the case with any of the places we go to, and either Tonkin or Nurul or I could help with that. But it's certainly possible, and I would encourage both international activists and NGOs, and particularly people from other parts of Burma to do that, and we can help you to do that.
Thank you.
So since I've been asked, well, actually there are three camps. Well, two official UNHCR camps with about 20,000 people who are registered as refugees. So they have registered refugee status. They're allowed to get the assistance that the UNHCR provides. So they can get food rations from WFP, they can get sort of limited education through UNICEF. So there is they have some status so they have some status. Some of them even have been able to be repatriated to third countries. So that these people are in a better position than the people who are not registered. And we must remember that I don't think the UN covered itself with much glory when it sent back the refugees in the 1990s. It was not really one of their greatest achievements. Then there are a huge number, probably 200,000 Rohingya living in villages in the Teknaf area. Huge number. But they're living because the language is the same. Well, we must remember that Cox's Bazar was the administrative capital of the Arakan state during British rule. So, and they speak the same language. The people in Teknaf area speak the same language as the Rohingya. So there's there's a huge number of people in the community, living in the community, because they speak the same language. But they faced a lot of problems when voter registration came. And some of them didn't have enough money to bribe the local officials, so they were kicked out. So this is where there's a big increase in the numbers around the official UNHCR camps. There's a huge number, and they are facing malnutrition. They are facing enormous problems because they have no status at all. So you have huge numbers living there. They don't have medical assistance. They don't have. Now recently, I think MSF Holland is trying to give some assistance to these people on the outskirts of the Kutupalong and the other official camp. The camp where I'm working, well, it's not allowed to be called a camp. It's a site. The place where I'm working has about 20,000 Rohingya refugees, about 2,000 families living there. This is what they call site for unregistered Rohingya refugees. These were people who were living on the banks of the Tal River in very, even worse conditions than what you saw on the slides. These people were transferred actually in 2005, the European Union had wanted to do something. The government at that time refused. During the time of the interim government, in 2007, they agreed. So some forestry department land was given for this site in Leda. And so it was agreed that these refugees will be transferred to the Leda site, where they are now. But they're unregistered. But in some ways, they're not getting any UN aid, like education, because the government of Bangladesh did not allow them to have education.